fudge. Okay. Okay. Hi, I'm here. And again, I'm not having a clean start because I'm having technical problems. So just hold still 1 second. I'll be right back. I'm coming right back. Promise. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. All right. I'm going to be right back. Here, watch this. You can watch a slideshow. Hello. A third time was not the charm. Still not a clean start to my video. What the heck? Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to get myself a little bit set up. But I see I have 3 viewers. Yay. Hi. Please say hi in the chat so I can say hi back to you. Okay, so this is what happened. I was not happy. I have not been happy. All right. Hey, Ever. There we go. I have not been happy with the video quality. So I was using my computer web camera for a live stream. And I was like, you know what? My iPhone has a better camera. Why don't I set that up as my live stream webcam? And I'm feeling so clever because I'm getting it done. And just as I'm going live, alerts pop up on my phone. And the way that I can make my iPhone work as a web camera involves some applications, and I swear I turned on the do not disturb, and I swear do not disturb does not work. Am I the only one? Am I the only one who finds that do not disturb does not work? I put on do not disturb and I still keep getting alerts. Anyway. But that is part of the fun of live stream. You never know what's gonna happen. Anyway, hi Bear, hi Star Pony, welcome. I don't think I've seen you in the live stream before. Welcome. Hello, Whitney. Whitney is a new subscriber. So glad to have you here. It should be interesting. I'm all discombobulated right now. Okay, I just want to make sure I have everything going. So how are you this Sunday? I hope you all have brought a fun beverage of your choice. I have my coffee. I know I called this Knit Tea Live, but it's the morning and I drink coffee. But coffee, like Knit Coffee Live, it's not clever because Knit Tea, the tea. Anyway, Bear, no you aren't. Also, turn off notifications is apparently notifying me of all things, right? Right, Bear? Exactly. As soon as it's like all day, silence, nothing. I turn on do not disturb and it's like world wants to encroach into my live stream. So, let's see if we can get through the next hour without you getting too much of an insight into my personal life. Let's see. Here we go. All right. But I hope that this is a better quality video. I think it's definitely going to be a better quality video. Also, I have to apologize for last week's live stream. I listened back to some of it, and the audio was, it hurt my soul that was my audio. Gotta understand something about me. I come from television production. Like, I studied media. I studied media communications. I have worked in television production most of my adult life. I am very cognizant of the importance of quality audio. I know that I'm not working with the best equipment, but it's what I can afford right now. So anyway, if for any reason my audio sounds bad, it's too lot. If my if my audio sounds too low or it sounds too hot, and if it's too hot, it's going to start sounding very crackly, any of that, please let me know in the live chat and I can see what I can do to adjust my audio setting to make the best live stream possible for you all to enjoy. So anyway, let's see. So this week, I have my Whitney, I have my coffee. I need coffee. We also have the same Contigo thermos, but I have it in purple. I know. I love my Contigo thermos so much. Like, oh, hi. Hello, dear friend. We've been through a lot together, haven't we? Yes. Yes, we have. If I do get a Amazon affiliate thing set up, this will definitely go on my list of things to purchase. Yeah, it's great. And what's really great is if you have a toddler like I do, this falls, nothing comes out of it because you have to press a button on the side to make it open. Hashtag not sponsored. Hashtag I do not have affiliate codes yet. But, you know, I got to get this. If I'm going to afford a better microphone, I need to monetize some things. So anyway, whew, what a week it's been. I cannot believe this week. It's been cray. I mean, just what's been going on in the fiber world, what's been going on in personal world. It's been a lot. But as we get started, I don't really have anything new on my needles. Let me just get this here. I don't really have anything new on my needles right now. The only thing I've started this week is this. This is very exciting, isn't it? Yes, very exciting. This is just the beginning of a swatch. It is of this yarn. If you watched my yarn subbing video, this yarn is going to look very familiar to you. This is the Lion Brand's Basic Stitch. I always want to call Basic Bitch because that's what this yarn is. That's their clever thing that they're doing with that. The reason I'm doing this swatch is I have a video that I'm planning, and this just was completely, the universe coming together at once, but a couple weeks ago decided I wanted to do a video where I would review like the least expensive yarn from Joann's, hashtag not sponsored, hashtag not affiliated. And so I went on their website. I was like, these are their least expensive yarns. And it just so happens at the same, like a few days later, the whole conversation about affordability and inclusivity around affordability and accessibility came up. And I was like, oh, wow, Carrie, you are on it. I can't imagine why in these times people are concerned about affordability of things. So anyway, I have a lot of projects that look like that. Yeah, right? I've started something and I haven't progressed very far. Yes, I have that bin. I have a lot of projects that look like this. This is a jumper. Let's see if I can. You're going to see a little bit of my computer screen. That's okay. I have this, which I started making for my daughter 2 years ago. it was a dress. It will now be a top for her. But it's just a little, I still have to finish weaving in my ends. I have 4 ends to go. I have so many projects where it's like, Carrie, you have 4 ends to go. You just need to finish the weaving and you can officially check mark it as a finished object. But weaving is the thing that I probably dislike doing the most. No, this is the one I want. Yeah, so weaving in ends is probably the thing I like doing the least. It's not my favorite thing to do. I've gotten better about it. I'm going to, though, start swatching this maybe while, we'll see if I can actually manage to do a live stream and work at the same time. So that's kind of what's on my needles. So, you know, very exciting swatch for an upcoming video that I'm planning to do. Then, dude, you know what? Oh, man. You're going to see that how I edit now all my mistakes out of my tutorials. So, let's see. That's what's going on my needles. And I hope you all got a chance to watch the yarn subbing video. We are going to talk about that at the end if there's time and if you're interested. So if you have any questions, hold on to them, maybe jot them down, and be ready because I will be taking notes of who has questions. No, I'm not. I won't be taking notes of who has questions. This live stream is for all of us to enjoy. And I have to say, though, I did change up my video setup, and I'm really liking it better than what I was doing before. So that's good. That's some good news. In terms of channel updates, I'm not going to be having a new uploaded video this coming week, and that is going to be tied to the hot topic that we will be discussing, hopefully very briefly, today. And that topic is, of course, Ravelry. Yeah, Ravelry. Gotta talk about it some more. I was really hoping that we wouldn't have to talk about Ravelry any further because we would just be in a place where we knew that Ravelry, I gotta put this aside to talk about Ravelry because I'm gonna bring up some screenshots, so I gotta get that going. Anyway, I was hoping that, let me just do that. And get my, okay, I was really hoping that we wouldn't have to talk about Ravelry again, but there have been further developments, and we're going to just talk about it very, 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 very briefly, okay? Just very briefly. So let's start with, I'm going to assume everyone is pretty much up to date with what happened up to a couple weeks ago, but one important thing I do think is important to remind everybody was about, well, let's see, I have the date here, on July 22nd, Cassidy, who is one of the founders of Ravelry. Ravelry was founded by a couple, Jess and Cassidy, and Cassidy is the person who wrote basically all of the code for Ravelry when it got started. And Ravelry has 4 full-time staff people, and then there's Jess, who, so they have 5 people who are on the team, the staff, but there's 4 full-time staff people. Jess isn't a full-time staff member on Ravelry, but Cassidy, her wife, is. So Cassidy, a couple of weeks ago, on July 22nd, she responded to, well, I'm not telling this in the most cogent way. There is a Ravelry knit designer, Katie B, on Instagram. She is KTB38, and she has been very vocal on Instagram about the accessibility problems with Ravelry. And she did a survey of designers. She did a poll, actually. It wasn't a survey. She did an Instagram poll of designers asking, have your sales gone down since New Rav launched? And of the designers that answered her poll, their earnings have gone down. Their pattern sales have gone down from Ravelry. So Cassidy, who had been taking a Twitter break, got back on Twitter and sent this out to the world, which she did delete fairly quickly, but it's out there. Anything you tweet, especially on Twitter, somebody, well, you only tweet on Twitter, but anyway, she wrote, "There's a person on Instagram has been spreading straight up lies about Ravelry nonstop since we updated the design. The most recent one is the pattern sales are down. No, this has been the best July ever." And this simply was not true. I mean, well, I can't speak to the pattern sales, but it is not true that KDB has been lying about Instagram or about Ravelry since New Rav launched. She has been vocal about the reporting from people that some people are experiencing migraines, eye strain, headaches, vertigo, and yes, there have been reports of seizures. And so that caused a huge problem. Shortly thereafter, and this is the new information, everybody at that point was just like, okay, clearly Ravelry is not going to be fixing these problems anytime soon. So let me take that off. I gotta, so this is the one I need. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting this set up. So there we go. Okay. There. All right. So Ravelry did a survey. They closed the survey. When they were doing the survey, they did invite people to send them back feedback over email. And this was about 3 weeks ago, and nobody was responding to the people who had sent email. Nobody from Ravelry had been responding to these emails. Well, last week, Cassidy decided to answer some of these emails, and this is just one of them that went out. And it says, "Hi, Lindsay. Lindsay is someone who is on Instagram. She has an Etsy store where she sells her chainmail jewelry. It's really cool. Check her out. She was very kind to give me permission to show this to everybody." But she wrote, but Cassidy sent this letter out. It says, "Ravelry's updated design does not cause seizures, migraines, or medical issues. The Epilepsy Foundation did not find any problems with Ravelry. Angry users started a letter writing campaign, and the foundation published their warning without any verification or research, as appears to be their policy. We have not found any experts, including medical doctors who specialize in this area, who have identified any problems with Ravelry. We have found zero evidence that there is anything about the new design that causes migraines or seizures. I would like people to consider their sources before spreading false information." So yeah, that's the email that Cassidy sent out to Lindsay. That is not the only email that went out. I have another one that sent out that was shorter, but it's the same basic message, so I'm not going to bring it up on screen. But oh joy. Hey, somebody liked my tweet. You all got to see it. That's exciting. Anyway, can't do anything about that. Stop tweeting at me right now. Thank you. So yeah, Cassidy basically said that anybody claiming that there are migraines or seizures from utilizing New Rav, that's false information. Understandably, this created quite the firestorm. There were a number of people who have experienced seizures. I'm a mutual follow with one person on Twitter who had a seizure, and her trigger was utilizing New Rav. I have mutual follows with many people who have reported that they are having eye strain and migraines after using New Ravelry, and their source is their own experience. And Cassidy, in these emails, just dismissed it. And yeah, quite the firestorm came out of it. Ever, was the text on the left from New Rav? It actually hurt my eyes. Yes, that was, I'm sorry. You know what? I should have given a warning. I did not even think about it. That text was a screenshot. it was from an Instagram post, but the email, that's the new Rav format email. And so, yes, and that was really bad on my part that I didn't give people a warning. I will have to update the description box that will come up and the time code, which I will do for people who watch this in the replay. But yeah, that's the new Rav format. That email is in the new Rav format. But you know what, Ever? You are incorrect. You are incorrect. You have no verifiable source that was your experience, according to Cassidy. I mean, Ever, wild. I had to stop reading it. Yeah. And I really apologize. I totally forgot that the email was in new Rav format, and I should not have brought that up on screen without at least a warning. Don't worry. That is the only screenshot that I'm going to be showing that is from new Rav. Nothing else that's going to come up on screen in this will be from new Rav. So don't worry about that, because I have one more screenshot to show. So people started leaving en masse. A lot of designers are upset. Designers who've been using Ravelry for years have already started coming up at least with alternative platforms to sell their patterns on, and there will be more in the live stream about that and an exciting project that I have in regards to designers setting up alternative platforms, alternative e-commerce platforms to sell their designs. But I mean, this is Cassidy. She is the leader of Ravelry. She is head of the company. The head of the company was, and this is not the only email. I've seen one other email that went out on Twitter from Cassidy. It was shorter, same basic message though, which is like, this is all false information. New Rav is great. Everything is fine. And I have heard on Instagram, there is another account that did post about having an email correspondence with Cassidy. That person did not provide any screenshots and I'm not going to get into that post too much just because I haven't seen it. I don't know the details, and I don't like to get into anything that I can't actually verify, but I have no reason to doubt that person's experience and back and forth with Cassidy over email is anything but truthful, because we have the one that Lindsay provided to us. So next step in this whole saga, and it's turned into a saga, is Jessica, Cassidy's wife, as I say, emerged from the shadows to address the situation. She wrote a letter, it's a statement, about new Ravelry and everything that has gone down. I'm not going to get into that whole letter because frankly it would take the entire live stream up, and also I'm still kind of thinking about it in a lot of ways. I will probably either do a dedicated video where I just break down the letter, or I will write a blog post about it, or I will do both. Let me know if you are interested in that kind of video, or just a blog post, or you're like, Carrie, I'm all over Ravelry, I never need to hear about it again. All of that is fine. My husband's home. You just got that alert. Oh my gosh. Next week will be better. I will have all this sorted out. Ever. Well, if Cassidy says I'm wrong, I must be wrong, right? Yeah, sorry, I was reading. Yep, they were firm letters. They're very, like, definitive. So Cassidy's wife, sent out this statement. The statement is on the Ravelry website, but Ravelry also has an off-site blog, which is blog.ravelry.com, or it's ravelry.blog.com. I always get it twisted around, but if you Google Ravelry blog, you will find their off-site blog, and that blog is not in New Rav, so if you want to read the full letter, you totally can. and it is safe. And I'm going to bring up that screen, not the whole email, but there's one very important part of the email that I think deserves special attention today, and I'm going to just bring that up now. And this is about the third paragraph in, and they wrote, with regard to tweets and emails sent by Cassidy, we being the Ravelry staff, would like to make clear they do not reflect the opinions and professional intentions of the Ravelry team or the way we think about what people are experiencing. We have not been as aware as we should be that these messages were being sent. Cassidy was not in a state to be talking with people, though she does understand that this is no excuse and that the emails that she wrote were hurtful. She is ashamed and sincerely sorry. It will take a period of adjustment, but the future of Cassidy's role will be focused on technical work. She no longer has access to the customer service emails, and her Ravelry email is disabled. So that is where Ravelry is kind of at right now, which is they're definitely in cleanup mode. As one of my mutuals on Twitter said, I'm summarizing, it sounds like they just like are grabbing Cassidy and shading her in the basement so that she doesn't keep making things worse. They are definitely, as I said on Twitter about this, it certainly sounds like they're distancing Cassidy and reformulating her role in Ravelry. I think had the letter that Jess sent out in its totality, not just that paragraph, or even that paragraph when it's been necessary, but the email in summary that, or the statement in summary that Jessica put out, it did the things that you would expect a good, well-constructed PR statement to say, which is to acknowledge some harm, not take full responsibility, not exactly acknowledge exactly what's wrong, offer up some insight into what is going on and plans to fix issues. It's the kind of statement that had it come out a month ago, 4 weeks ago, or right after New Rav was launched and these problems started being reported, probably would have mollified a lot of people. But I think it's also a statement that it's coming out now after everything that's happened feels a little too late. Like, too little, too late. They still have not hired an accessibility consultant to help them with what is going on with New Ravelry. And they address that in the statement. Jessica addresses that, and basically what they said is they haven't been able to find a consultant who they can work with on an ongoing basis, and so they're looking around. So it's like, this has kind of been going on for 6 weeks. Maybe you gotta just take what you can get while you do other things. But they're don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. Just get the consultant. I mean, I understand that's money. That's an expense, but you're trashing your brand. I mean, Ravelry over the last 6 weeks has totally trashed their brand. So that's what's going on with Ravelry. Yeah, Bear, very under the bussy, as all the Rav team unfriended KTB38, right? And that's the other thing. I know that at least 2 people who received this form letter from Cassidy did get apologies, but nobody at Ravelry, last I checked, has apologized to KTB38. And that to me is unconscionable. KTB38 did not cause this situation. KTB, like, something else I've kind of been tooling around in my brain is been kind of putting a timeline together of everything that happened with Ravelry. And I mean, New Rav launched, and 2 days later, in their For the Love of Ravelry forums, there were reports of headaches and migraines. And I don't know exactly when the first report of a seizure came out, but KDB didn't make those up. She just said, hey, Ravelry, you gotta do something about this. That's all, and all she has done is encourage people, bigger platforms, designers who have bigger platforms, to speak out in support of people who are being adversely affected by Ravelry. And that's all she did. That's all she did, was advocate for accessibility. And Ravelry utterly has treated her terribly. But not just KDB. It's not just, it's everybody. Everybody who has been adversely affected by a new Rav, they have gaslighted to some extent or another. And it's so sad, because Ravelry has created this sense of community and people having real loyalty to Ravelry as a community for the knitting universe, the fiber universe, and they're feeling like suddenly they're waking up and they're like, oh, this isn't what I signed up for. And people have donated their time. I mean, Ravelry as a website, it exists because of volunteerism. It exists because when they were first building Ravelry, Jess and Cassidy, when they were first building Ravelry, they were getting donations. They had people volunteering, editing their pattern database. I mean, if you think about, yes, the community aspect of Ravelry is what makes Ravelry, has made Ravelry successful, because people have felt attached to the community there. But the major asset of Ravelry, what makes it valuable from a financial sense, but also from a fiber person sense, is the pattern database. The pattern database is why people go on the site. It's why there are casual users and then casual users who become power users. That database has been built with volunteers. Every time somebody adds a pattern, whether it's a designer who adds their own pattern, it goes in the database. Other people said, hey, there's this neat pattern from this magazine, I'll put it in the database. Volunteers have edited that database. Ravelry exists because of unpaid labor. And then for the team at Ravelry to turn to some of those volunteers who put in blood, their own effort to make it a success, and say, sorry, you're a little stressed out, you know, that's hurtful. And there's a lot of people where it's like, it just doesn't feel like a business being a business, you know, because that's what businesses do. It feels personal. So I feel and the thing with me, I was always a very casual Ravelry user. I don't have that emotional tie to the site that a lot of people have, but I see other people who feel personally betrayed by what has gone on, and I can't help but my heart to go out to them. Like, I can't help it. I'm that person. I'm very much like, injustice must be corrected. I am that person. So anyway, we are now, if you've looked at my blog at all, you know that my last few blog posts have been about the whole Ravelry situation. And as I said, I'm very much, justice must be corrected. I am a person who likes to get into a space of, well, what can I do besides just talk about it? And something that, as I mentioned earlier, that has been going on is designers have been setting up alternative platforms to sell their patterns. So if people can't use Ravelry right now, or they just don't want to use Ravelry right now, they can still have access to patterns. Some popular sites have been Payhip, Lovecrafts, also just designers having their own integrated shopping carts on their own personal websites. But one of the things that's been hard is there's so many designers. How do you find them? How do you go about finding these the designers on these other platforms and figure out where you can, continue looking at pretty things that are made out of like string? Because we all want to look at the pretty things made out of string, right? Well, and last live stream, I think it was Bear, who asked, is there anything else like Ravelry? And I'm like, no, there's nothing else like Ravelry. And there isn't. There is nothing else like Ravelry. Now, there are now people trying to create alternative sites like Ravelry, but that's going to take time because that is actually building a software. You have to code that. It's complex. I mean, don't get me wrong. I by no means underestimate the amount of work that it has taken to build Ravelry and to provide all the functions that it provides. Like, I do not underestimate the time and effort that the Ravelry staff, Cassidy in particular, has put into creating the code for Ravelry. But alas, they're in the middle of a debacle. So I was looking at it, and I am mutual follows with a number of designers on Instagram and on Twitter, and I was seeing how they were all working to migrate their patterns onto other sites. And I last Sunday was drinking a couple of glasses of wine, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what I can do? I can just put together a little shopping directory. I'll just put together a little directory, a little list of here's designers, here's links to their various platforms that they're using. I just need them to give me their information. I mean, I can hunt it down, but if they give it to me, it'll be a little bit easier. I make it a little easier in my life. So I sent out a tweet. And that night, designers started sharing with me their links on my tweet. And then the next morning, I was like, well, this is not efficient at all. So I set up a Google form. And I now, on my website, knitswhereit'sat.weebly.com, have what I call the Fiber Indie list. And the Fiber Indie list is exactly what it says. It is a list of designers who have alternative e-commerce platforms they are selling their patterns on. It's nothing fancy because I am not a web developer. I am not a coder. I'm just a girl with a website that has never gotten a ton of traffic, but pretty good at just arranging blocks of information and just doing it. So if you want to check that out, please do. And the Fiber Indie list is why I have not shot a video this past week to upload, because it literally took most of my bandwidth to get it going. Now that it's set up, there are about 40 to 45 designers on it right now. I'm still getting submissions. And there's no pictures. It's a name. There are links. I wrote a little blurb for each designer to just kind of give an idea of what their work is about, what techniques they like to use, and just also my impression of their work. So I do editorialize. One thing to know that some of the designers, previous to this whole Ravelry debacle, they had their website and they had their website shop, but really you would click on the link and it would say, patterns. You would click on patterns. It would just take you to Ravelry. If a designer still has that set up on their website, I don't provide the website link out of an abundance of caution, but I do give warning, and I still encourage people to visit the designer's website. I just want people to be aware that there may be unmarked links to Ravelry so that they can take whatever precautions they need to take. So the Fiber Indie list, it is live, it is up, it is, it's been a lot of fun. At the same time, and I have to shameless plug now, I'm doing the Fiber Indie list as a labor of love, but it does take time, and it takes energy, and it does take coffee. And this is always hard for me to do, but I am passing the hat around a little bit and saying, if you'd like to support my effort in having the Fiber Indie list, I have ideas on how to make it even more useful in terms of being able to add more searchability to it, highlighting patterns. Maybe I have ideas, like maybe each day there's a spotlight for a pattern, maybe building in a calendar of when designers are releasing new patterns, things like that. So it can be a resource for us makers to be able to keep on top of all the amazing things we can do with pretty string that doesn't rely on Ravelry. I'm sure at some point somebody with way more skill than I have will come up with a better alternative. But in the meantime, this is something to at least help the fiber community, I hope. So please check it out, give it some clicks, and you know, I always tell people lots of ways that you can support my channel, making sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, signing up for my newsletter. If you would like to help in another very helpful way, because right now my website, I use a free plan that's limiting. I would like to fund at least a year of a paid plan for my website. If you'd like to help me in that endeavor, you can, quote unquote, buy me a coffee. If you look at the front of my YouTube channel, on the banner in the right-hand corner is a little coffee cup that links to my Buy Me a Coffee. And you can buy me a coffee and help me with that goal. And if you can't, that's fine. Mark Schwartz. Hey, Carrie. Hey, Mark. How you doing? How's it going? Are you having a good Sunday? Thank you for joining us on the live chat. We now have 8 concurrent viewers. Hi, everybody. So that's what's going on. That is my big news on what's happening with the website. Also, on my blog, if you are looking at ways, alternatives to organize your fiber life outside of Ravelry, my most recent blog post gives resources to do that. I will be doing an update because somebody pointed me to another really good web resource to help organize your fiber life. I just have to update my blog. I will do that after we are done with live stream today. Uh-oh. Okay, sorry, I got a message that my live stream stopped, but it looks like it's okay. So, Mark, I am good. Thanks, Carrie. So, I have that blog post. It has a list of resources up. It includes, it's all free, open source tools available to you. Actually, Lindsay, Silver Griffin, she has some Google Sheets that are set up, perfectly set up to inventory your fiber stash and your needles. That's great. There's also a website called Airtable that I'm actually starting to play around with, and that's really neat. Airtable, it's basically, it's a spreadsheet taken up a notch, going more into a full-on database situation. And Victoria Marchant, who is on the Fiber Indy list, she has what's called a base. That's what Airtable calls its database. Like when you set up a database, they call it a base. She basically has a blank base template for people who are wanting to, you know, kind of replace Ravelry with some other tool to track their stuff. So she has a blank base that she set up. There's links to all of this on that blog post. If you're interested in any of it, please check it out. Alrighty, so who's tired of talking about Ravelry? I am. I would really like Ravelry to just get their S together and fix their mess. That's what I would like. Mark, are you hosting the Google Sheets? I am not hosting the Google Sheets. But on my blog, there is links to who is hosting the Google Sheets. So there's links to everything on my blog about alternative resources that people can use to organize their fiber life while we all deal with what I affectionately call year 1 of the AR after Ravelry. So, because that's, and you know, what's interesting to me, because I've been knitting for so long and I've, you know, I'm of an age where I was, like, I remember when the internet meant having Prodigy, okay? I just dated myself. But, you know, before Ravelry, knitters, crocheters, fiber artists, we were on the internet doing stuff and organizing our life with tools on the internet. We just didn't do it on Ravelry. So I feel like people are being kind of thrown back into this world that we once all lived in. But I don't know, there's part of me that's a little excited about it as well, where it's like, maybe it's a good thing if we as knitters and crocheters start getting back into looking at each other's blogs, and not doing it on a platform like Ravelry. Maybe that's not a bad thing, because if you're not somebody who's into Ravelry like me, I don't know. I think there's exciting opportunities with what has gone on. Maybe it's time that we start rethinking about how the fiber universe has connected with one another over the internet. Because there's so many things now. You can follow people's patterns on Instagram. There's Twitter. Twitter, by its very nature, tends to be a little bit more political. Instagram, not as much so. But there's just a lot more places that we can connect with each other than just this one website. So there's part of me, it's like I feel like exciting opportunities maybe in all of this. And AOL. Yes. AOL. That's so funny you brought up AOL, because somebody, I'm not going to say who, I'm not going to name names, but somebody has been tempting me to try spinning. And there is a way of making a drop spindle utilizing CDs, and I guess back in the day it was very popular to make drop spindles using AOL update CDs, because if you're of a certain age, you had a stack of AOL, because AOL would just send CDs out to everybody to try to get you to sign up, and everybody had a stack of AOL CDs that we were all looking like, I don't know what to do with this. What do you do with this? I don't know. There's all these CDs. What do you do with it? So, Mark said, would that be Jillian Eve? I don't know what you're talking about, Mark. I don't know what you're talking about. How could Jillian Eve be tempting me to try spinning? Yes, it's Jillian Eve. She is, by the way, such a sweetheart, such a delight. We don't really, we've sort of connected a little bit. We've chatted a little bit through Instagram and various things, and she is a sweetheart. I might have a girl crush on her. Just keep it between us, but I might have a girl crush on her. That's Mark Schwartz. Let me ask my wife. So anyway, so raise your hand, or say you raise your hand if you watched the yarn subbing video from this week. I would love to answer any questions. We can talk about it a bit more. My long list of videos that I want to shoot that I am perpetually behind on. I do want, and that's probably the next thing I am going to shoot, which is to do a video dedicated to talking about doing yarn sub specific to fiber, because it's substituting for fiber and talking about fiber. It's such a big topic. That video would have been turned into like an hour and a half had I tried to cover that and everything else that I tried to cover in it. It was a really long video anyway. I loved it. I'm actually very proud of that video, but yeah, it was a long video. I swear that it's as short as I could get it and get what I thought were the key information to get across. But yeah, if you have any questions about yarn subbing, let me know. That's so weird. Oh, I see what that's telling me, because we have about 10 minutes left in the live stream, unless we go long, which we've done the last 2, but I would like to keep it to an hour. Claudia, tried yarn subbing this week based on your recommendations for a bulky weight sweater. Yay! I hope it went well. Or are you going, oh my gosh, what the hell are you talking about, Carrie? It was a nightmare. I hope it went well. Did it go well? Did you have a good experience trying to do the yarn subbing with a bulky sweater? Yeah. Here's the thing with yarn substitution. To me, yarn substitution, I love yarn substitution because I always substitute. Well, first of all, I very rarely, if you want to know the truth, use patterns. Or if I do use patterns, it goes completely, oh, hi. Hi, somebody just tweeted. Oh, God. It's so embarrassing. There's nothing I can do right now. I can't. I could try to switch my camera to my computer, but I'm going to turn on my overhead. Astronauts aboard SpaceX capsule splashed down the Gulf of Mexico. Yay! They're all safe. That, by the way, is the first splashdown. My husband was telling me the SpaceX splashdown, that is the first splashdown that we've had in like 40 years or something like that, because Russia, former Soviet Union, now Russia, they have never done splashdowns for space return. They always landed their capsules on dry land. And of course, since the 80s, the United States, we had the space shuttle, so we weren't doing splashdown. So that's kind of exciting. Starbucks, hi from Texas. Claudia, it was challenging. Originally wanted to sub in a worsted weight for bulky, but decided to stick to the pattern's recommendation. That, I think, was a wise choice. You can sub anything for anything, right? But the fact is, once you start getting into doing a yarn substitution where you want to change the weight of the yarn, then you're going to get yourself into doing some math, because, you know, patterns are all based on stitch gauge, how many stitches per inch that you're producing, and a different weighted yarn on the same size needle is going to have a different stitch gauge. And sometimes people think, well, if I go from bulky to worsted, but I just use a big enough needle where I still get the same gauge as what's called in for the pattern, then it will work. But the problem with doing that is a worsted weighted yarn. Let's say, for example, the bulky, what is an average? Do I have my card nearby? Don't mind me, just looking around for something. I don't have it, it's probably hidden underneath something. Anyway, let's say you have your bulky yarn. The pattern calls for a stitch gauge, I'm just making this up, of 6 stitches per inch, right? If you try to do 6 stitches per inch with a worsted weighted yarn, you're going to get a very different fabric than you are going to get with a bulky weight yarn. So that's not the best way to do it. And so if you want to change the weight of the yarn that the pattern is calling for, you are going to basically start having to rewrite the pattern to some extent. It's math, it can be done, but you kind of have to really know what you're getting yourself into when trying to do that sort of yarn substitution. And my advice is that unless you really like doing that kind of math, unless you like doing that kind of math and designing patterns, you're almost better off just finding, if you want to do a worsted weighted sweater, finding a pattern to do in worsted weight. I think that trying to sub out one weight of yarn for another is hands down the trickiest thing to do in yarn substitution. It's trickier than trying to sub out one natural fiber for another natural fiber, because so much of a pattern and the pattern writing and how the increases and the decreases are spaced out in a pattern is reliant on the stitches per inch and the rows per inch, because it's all math. And once you change that stitch gauge, all those numbers change with it. So I think you made the right decision going ahead and using the bulky weight. And, you know, bonus, bulky weighted items do knit up faster. That's why we like knitting. Well, okay, so I'm a little crazy. I like knitting really small with really small needles. Like, I really enjoy knitting with sock weight yarn on like size 000 needles. I'm insane that way. I admit this. But so many people enjoy bulky weight yarn and knitting projects with bulky weight yarn because they take less time to do. They do. There's no way around that. Any questions about yarn subbing? Any questions for me just about anything? I'd love to answer them. I'd love to keep talking to you about it. Yeah, because I'm like sitting there going, I'm running out of things to say. I talked about Ravelry. I don't know any more to say about Ravelry. I have nothing more to say about the Fiverr Indy list right now, and I can't just keep plugging my Buy Me a Coffee. We could talk about parasocial relationships. Do you know what parasocial relationships is? Hi, Carrie. Hi, Jillian. Thank you for joining me. So nice to see you. I might have admitted that I have a little bit of a girl crush on you. Just a little. Don't get freaked out. It's okay. It's just a parasocial relationship. Parasocial relationships, by the way, is just, I think it's a fancy word to me of a feeling of loyalty, but it's the idea that somebody that you do not know in real life, but somebody that you know through social media, whether it's YouTube like this, Twitter accounts, whatever, you start feeling a sense of friendship and a personal relationship you just start feeling a personal relationship with them. So you start having a personal sense of loyalty towards them. And it's kind of an interesting phenomenon. It's just very human nature. I know I'm very susceptible to this phenomenon because I'm just a people person and I like people. So, Jillian, oh, same girl, right back at you. It's so funny. Ever. Oh, delay. Haha. Ever. What are parasocial relationships? Ever. I felt your question coming, and you know, we brought it together. That's interesting because parasocial relationships can become real friendships. I mean, it's interesting. It's an interesting phenomenon. And to tie it back to Ravelry, a lot of people really were kind of in a parasocial relationship with Ravelry. They felt like they had this personal friendship with the Ravelry staff, with the website. And that's part of the reason I think there are such strong feelings about what has been going on with Ravelry. Because, you know, it's like, but we had a relationship. And now you have failed me. Janet, I looked on YouTube for API tool and found you can use anything because you are counting loops, not length of loop, correct? Oh, WPI, yes. Janet, I think you're right. I think, by the way, I gave a little bit of misinformation. I have to look more closely at this when it comes to WPI because it's not something I'm completely clear on in terms of. But I do believe, I think last week you asked if any ruler would give you the same WPI. And now looking at it, yes. I think that whether you used, although Jillian probably knows better than I do, if you use a reps per inch tool like I have, or if you use a ruler, the reps per inch would probably be the same regardless because it is measuring the thickness of the yarn. I agree. It's an interesting reps per inch, yeah. I looked on YouTube for a tool. You can use anything because you are counting loops, not length. Yes, that is correct, Janet. You can use anything. You can use a ruler. In fact, where did I put it? I always think I'm going to knit while doing these live streams, and I never do. But do I have one in here? Can't find it. I had a ruler right next to me. One of my favorite tools, though, is just a little 6-inch ruler. By the way, if you need rulers, go to the quilters section of your big box store because they have the best rulers. They're clear and they're plastic, and you never have the 0 mark will always be the edge of the ruler. So go to your quilters section. But I have a little 6-inch plastic quilters ruler that I use to measure gauge. Don't use a tape measure to measure your gauge, okay? Just do me that favor. Because cloth tape measures, they stretch over time. They're not always accurate. Use an actual ruler to measure your gauge. That's a tip. That's a tip for today. Yep, you can use a pencil or anything that is the same width for the inch you want to wrap. Mark, a WPI tool just makes checking WPI quicker and more error-free. Exactly. And it's fun. And they're not expensive. And they come with a card, at least this one. This is from Nancy's Knickknacks. That's the brand of this one. And it comes with a card that tells you what the WPI for each weight of yarn is. And I do have down in the description box a link to the Craft Yarn Council's page on yarn weight, and they have a page on WPIs and yarn weight. So it's a good reference for everyone to have. But yeah, I'm really starting to think about yarn weight not as a gauge now. I'm trying to think about it more as what is the wraps per inch, because I think that is a more reliable and accurate measure of yarn weight than gauge is, because gauge, there's so many different factors that can affect how you knit a gauge swatch, what your gauge is going to be, and gauge is very personal to the knitter. So, whoops, Janet. Do you use designing software, not charting software? I don't use designing software or designing chartware. As I always say, interestingly, my knit life is very analog in terms of when I'm working patterns, writing notes down as I go along. I used for a long time just Excel if I was doing a chart. There's a couple of free fonts available for knit symbols that you can find online. I gotta bring them up again because I think they're a little outdated now with all my OS updates, but I always have kind of like squeaked by using Excel sheets for charting, and I love charting. So I don't use software for designing. I don't use software for when I am working someone else's pattern. I don't use software to track it. Oh, hi. Recommended tweet from Susan G just came by. Yeah. So embarrassing. Oh my gosh. So embarrassing. Oh my god. Thank God it's just Twitter alerts that keep coming through. Jillian, you are old school designer. It's so funny. I'm not OG about anything. Normally I'm all like, where is my software? Where is my tech? But I just, I'm very non-techy when it comes to knitting. Like, even something like row counters. I mean, if you've watched my video on unpopular knitting opinions, or even, I did a video on using stitch markers to track your shaping rows, and I don't use row counters. I used to have one. I gave it to my daughter as a toy when she was like, 1 or something like that. But I don't use row counters. I don't think they're necessary. Scrap yarn is great. I love my scrap yarn. Scrap yarn is the best row counter around, and you already have lots of scrap yarn, so I don't use scrap yarn. But yeah, I've been, in terms of knit design, I'm kind of tempted by Knit Companion, because at some point, here's the thing with me. I don't consider myself a designer. I make up my own projects because I enjoy that process, but I don't consider myself a designer. And yes, if I'm completely honest, have I had dreams of being a professional knitwear designer? Sure. But looking at the realities of that business, I don't think it's realistic for my life. Like, I don't think that's realistic for my life, because that's a tough business to make a living at. We don't really, here's the thing about designs. And this was where I learned this from. Everybody remember CraftGeek? CraftGeek, by the way, is not dead. It's still around. It looked like it was going to be dead, but TN Marketing bought the CraftGeek video, and they're bringing CraftGeek back, the branding back. Anyway, not exactly sure everything that's going on there, but CraftGeek lives. But I did a video class with Lauren Nelkin on cowl design, designing your own cowls. And in that class, she talked about the process of taking your design and bringing it to market. And what I learned from it is it's way more expensive and involved than people appreciate. And the other thing, because I believe that she said it either in the video or in the discussion, because with CraftGeek platform, you could talk with the teacher through a platform that was attached to the video. But she said, like, her patterns aren't basically, her business model wasn't built around selling patterns. And that's when I realized that for a lot of people in the knitwear business, the pattern design itself is not where they are monetizing. Yes, they sell the pattern because that helps, any revenue stream helps, but that's not what's really bringing in their income. That most are using it basically as a marketing tool. That selling patterns, or whether it's independently through Ravelry, their own e-commerce platform, or selling it to magazines or yarn companies, these are all marketing tools, and that their income is coming more from teaching, appearances, things of that nature. So anyway, Mark Schwartz, you are OG about your Prodigy. No, I never had Prodigy. I never had Prodigy. You want to know the truth? My family, we didn't even have a personal computer in our home for most of my high school years. Like, my dad didn't want to spend the money on it. When he finally did get a computer, because I was like, Dad, I'm having to turn in handwritten reports, or I'm having to stay after school to use the computer lab at school. Anyway, he got like what was called leading edge word processor, LEWP, and it didn't even run Windows. It ran DOS. Like, I didn't have internet. I didn't have internet in my life until I was like my junior year of college. My university didn't even have internet on campus when I started. That's how OG I am. It killed me, by the way. I was always like, because I always liked using computers. I always did. Okay. Like, because in high school, I was co-editor-in-chief of my high school newspaper, and my main job was doing the layout. So I was always on Macs doing layout, doing desktop publishing. So I've always loved having computers and doing things with them. Jillian laughing. Oh my gosh. My dad had that same software. Yes, Mark. Yes. And it was crap. Oh my God. Loop was terrible. Like, the computer would last maybe a year. It would die. And then my dad would go out and buy the exact same computer for it to last another year. And I was like, Dad, you gotta think of computers like a car. You buy the best one that you can afford at the time, and then you drive it into the ground for 3 or 4 years. But you're like, you just keep spending every year this amount of money. You're wasting money this way. Mark Schwartz, yeah. I was like, you're wasting money. You're wasting money this way. Like, stop it. He eventually listened to me, kind of. Although he got a Windows, he didn't get a Mac. I am a Mac aficionado. You want to talk about parasocial relationship? I've had a long-standing parasocial relationship with Apple. It's not as deep as it once was. It's not the same company as when I was, a youngin'. But that's funny. I didn't have an email account until third year. Yeah. Janet, what is OG? Oh, OG, it means original gangster, but it basically means old school, old guard, that kind of idea. Yeah. So when someone says, oh, you're OG, you're old school, you're original, you're 1.0, you're prodigy. Oh my gosh. So, okay. Star Pony, when I started college, they didn't have Wi-Fi in the dorms, and I had to buy a really long Ethernet cord. Yeah, oh God, Wi-Fi? There was no Wi-Fi on my campus. There was no Wi-Fi. I mean, it was insane. Oh, excuse me, I have to scratch my nose. I'm gonna wash my hands afterwards, okay? But anyway, I have to start wrapping this up because we are going over again, because I love chatting with you all so much, which I do. So coming week, so I'm not going to have a new uploaded video this coming week on YouTube because so much of my time this past week has been on the Fiverr Indy list, but please check it out. Check out my blog, all right, because there's stuff is happening on the blog. And in particular, keep your eye out on my blog post, year 1 of the AR, because I will be updating it as I find new tools and resources for people to organize their Fiverr life after off of Ravelry. Also, what else next week? So, I do want to do a Twitch test stream. If you are interested in being part of that, showing up, letting me know how it's working, sign up for my live stream update email list. I should have a link for it in the description box. If not, you can always go to my webpage and you will find, you can sign up for my newsletter and click live stream, and I will know that you are interested in getting updates on me and live streaming sent directly to your email box. But I do want to figure out a time to test out streaming on Twitch because I'm really curious about adding that platform to my life. I'm really liking doing the live streaming, but yeah. Oh, my mom just popped in. Hi, bye, love you. Love you too, Mom. Mwah. My parents live in North Carolina, and I live in California, so it's like, we're like ships passing through the internet right now. Let's see, Janet, thanks. So yeah, but I was gonna try to set up that live stream test this past week, but yeah, the Fiverr Indie list, it needed to happen. Ellie says hi too. Hi, Ellie. Hi. Ellie is my mom's best friend and my sister's godmother, and she was a matron of honor at my wedding. She's a very important person in my family's life. So it was very good hearing from you, Ellie. Love you. As always, if you have not already, make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. Hitting the notification bell will make sure you are alerted whenever I upload a new video or I am starting a new live stream. Of course, the Knit Tea Live Sunday live stream is now on the regular, so just, mark that time out for yourself. Say, that's an hour I'm going to spend with Carrie CraftGeek. But in case you forget, because life does happen, hit the notification bell and you'll get an alert that it is happening. And of course, if you're watching this on replay, thank you so much. Make sure you comment down below, and we can have a good old time together. Is that everything? If you're not following me on social media, I am active on Twitter and Instagram. You will definitely want to sign on there. You will no longer find me at Ravelry. I did delete my Ravelry account. I talked about that in the last live stream. And also comment down below or here right now if you are interested in me doing a deep dive video, just a retrospective on Ravelry. Kind of considering it, might just blog about it. Haven't decided yet on that topic, but might happen. Other videos I've got planned coming up. As I said before, I'm going to be doing a yarn substitution, focusing on fiber and substituting one fiber for another. Also, I have to still test out these. These are the Addy Flex Flips that I showed off last week. I did not get a chance to start testing these because the Fiverr Indie list ate my life. Tired of Rav. Janet, tired of Rav. I hear you. I'm a little tired of the story myself, and I kind of feel like, I felt like this week I had to discuss it a little bit because there was the new kind of cray-cray that occurred, which is probably a little ableist on my part to say it that way, but it was. But I also feel like the story is at its end. Like, I think at this point, we all know that Ravelry just isn't going to, for one reason or another, fix the problem. and we've all have to kind of make our decision in terms of how we want Ravelry in our life, if we want it in our life at all at this point. So um, I'm focusing now on just providing what information I can to people who want to, build their fiber life outside of Ravelry. That's what is driving the fiber indie list. That is what's driving the blog post, year one of the AR, and that's where I'm at with it. So I agree, kind of tired of it too. Yeah, it's like there comes a point where there's nothing left to say. So yeah, I think that's everything for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a wonderful week. Check out my videos. I've got like 30 of them now, so there might be something you haven't watched yet, And you never know when you watch a video what interesting thing that you're going to pick up in it that you didn't know before. You might be going, but Carrie, I know how to do a knit stitch. But you know what? Maybe there's some tidbit of information about knit stitch that you didn't know before, and you're not going to find out until you watch the video. Plus, I'm just a joy. Let's be honest. No. Whitney C. Bye. Bye, Whitney. Hope to see you again. Thank you for subscribing and following and everything. Welcome to the Carrie CraftGeek universe. We have fun. Anyway, as always, I already said, but I will say it again. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and as always, happy health and happy knitting. Bye!